Hey guys, it's me, Minecraft World. So here is a video that I've wanted to do for a while now. Basically, my top 10 most wanted episodes of Death Battle. My top 10 most wanted matchups of Death Battle. This is a video that I really wanted to do since, well, I started the channel. I really had no idea, like, when to do it, and I feel like now is a good time to do it since season 9 is just about to enter its halfway mark. Well, it's already its halfway mark, and it's just about to enter the second half of the season. And I'm not going to spoil what the next matchup is, but it's a matchup that, when I started, was originally one of my most wanted. So, yeah. But I'm not going to spoil what the matchup is, but that's not the topic of this video. It was but the matchup itself was one of the most wanted matchups of, one of my most wanted matchups in general when I started the channel. It was one of my first 10 episodes. Again, I'm not spoiling which one it is. You might already know what it is. It might get revealed today, it might get revealed tomorrow, it might get revealed next week. But yeah, so since that one's happening, I wanted to revisit not those original 10, though one of those original 10 is still one of my most wanted. But I want to talk about my current most wanted. These might be outdated in the near future. Hell, they might be outdated again tomorrow, next week, maybe even next year. I'm not sure. Opinions change, and not all of these matchups are ones that you will agree with, so let me know your top 10 in the comments. Let me know what your most wanted matchups are in the comments, and why. Why do you want them? But this is something that almost every Death Battle YouTuber has done at least once, even if it's outdated. I know I remember Biffweed did it a while ago. I don't remember if Nem did it. I think a few others have done it more than once. I remember the Raptor has done it at least twice. But I wanted to talk about my top 10. So, yeah. Again, let me know what your top 10 are in the comments below. Let me know what you think of these matchups. And yeah. Let's get started. Number 10. The Rhedosaurus versus the Paleosaurus, the beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953, versus the giant behemoth, 1959. Basic connections: two giant radioactive dinosaurs who both made their debuts in opposite ends of the 1950s, that both started out as legends or folklore or something, until they made an appearance in a major population center and go on a massive rampage in said major population center before inevitably being put down by a group of ragtag scientists. This is honestly one of the more interesting kaiju matchups. I would genuinely be down to see this. If they decide to do a stop-motion matchup, I would love to see them tackle this one. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, it's not a particular favorite of mine, but it is iconic, and the Giant Behemoth, I haven't seen. I haven't seen the Giant Behemoth, but it does look interesting. Sure, the connections could apply to Godzilla versus either of them, but what makes this for me is that the Paleosaurus was very heavily inspired by the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. The basic story plot and some of the shots are even taken beat for beat from Beast. So seeing these two finally go at it would actually be really, really, really interesting. And yeah, I honestly think it could be a lot of fun. It's one of the more grounded and animalistic kaiju matchups, which is surprisingly rare. Most kaiju often tend to spam beam attacks or have long-range beam attacks, or rarely even, like, throw a punch or bite something. for kaiju matchups. There are kaiju matchups that have that, and this is one of them. And I particularly enjoy those types of matchups because it could allow for some brutality and some interesting stuff to go at. The closest thing these two even have to a beam attack is a radioactive pulse, and both negate it. So it's all down to who can land a killing blow. So for animation style, I do not think anything else works for this. The only thing that works for it is stop motion. Both of them are stop motion monsters, so you can only really go that route. That's the only way it can be done. 3D and hand-drawn could be fine, 3D especially. Sprites would look really awkward, and don't get me started on live action. Kaiju matchups do not work in live action, period. Unless they want to do it as a season finale, and even then, no. Track name, 20,000 Gray. 20,000 because Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and Gray because Gray is a unit of measuring radiation. As for who wins, it's probably pretty close, but I'm gonna give it to the Rhedosaurus. The Paleosaurus definitely has a size advantage, I will say that, but the Rhedosaurus probably wins. They're both pretty equal in strength, speed. Durability, I'd probably give to the Rhedosaurus. Arsenal advantage, they're even. Intelligence, again, Rhedosaurus. So the winner is the Rhedosaurus. Number 9. Clutch Powers vs. Chase McCain. The Adventures of Clutch Powers vs. Lego City Undercover. In basic connections, two Chadley lesser-known LEGO characters who are both residents of Lego City and work for higher-up organizations in Lego City in order to hunt down high-priority prisoners. I talked about this one briefly in my fan-made LEGO season. This one could legitimately be fun. I really, really, really like it. I think it's close. Both have pretty equal stats and haxes, but if I had to give a win, probably Clutch Powers, but by a smaller margin. He definitely has a lot more experience compared to McCain, dealing with high, intense energy stuff. I mean, there's a difference between dealing with a prison escape and dealing with a rock monster. Clutch has definitely dealt with higher tier stuff compared to Chase McCain. I would give McCain a weaponry advantage, but he most certainly has a larger amount of weaponry, and they're both pretty equal in terms of strategy and intelligence. I would definitely imagine this fight would probably give him a lot of respect towards the other. Both would probably, I'd imagine they'd start the fight having pre-existing knowledge of each other because they're both relatively famous figures within their worlds. At least Powers is. It's been a while since I've played City Undercover. I would genuinely be down to see this. I'd imagine they'd both carry a lot of respect, and I'd imagine they'd both compliment and give each other advice throughout the fight, probably becoming close to friends before one of them dies. But yeah, this matchup actually works. Animation style 3D. There are chances of it being stop motion, but this fight is intended specifically for Adventures of Clutch Powers, and I don't remember if that version of Clutch Powers has a Lego figure. The Ninjago version does, but I'm not using the Ninjago version. That one butchers the character in several ways. Clutch for the win. Track name, Adventures Undercover. Adventures because, well, it's the Adventures of Clutch Powers, and Undercover because Lego City Undercover. Number 8. Warden vs. Crawler. Minecraft vs. The Descent. In basic connections, two mysterious undiscovered organisms that both reside deep underground and are very hostile towards who come across them. It's pretty basic, pretty lackluster, but this is one of my original top 10. There were actually 2 of them, I forgot to mention, but this was one of my original top 10, and while it has gone down, it wasn't number 2 back in the day. It has gone down. I still really like it. I wrote a script for this one a while back that took me over 5 months to do, and I will leave it linked in the description and pinned comment in case you want to read it. But I still really, really like the match. It is a big stomp. It's probably the biggest stomp that I've ever created, and one of the biggest stomps I've ever seen. From my script, I got the Warden to house level, like enough to destroy a villager house, and for the Crawler, just barely human. So, like, just barely comparable to a human. Yeah, Warden is destroying it. But what I would want for this fight is to carry an atmospheric tone. The fight itself that I wrote is basically what I'm thinking the fight should be. Yes, it's a total hogwash, but I still really like it. And remember, stomps, they're not the worst thing on the planet. There have been some really good ones in the past. Saitama vs. Popeye is one, and for a recent example, Homelander vs. Omni-Man. Omni-Man had basically everything going for him, and that episode was still one of the best episodes of Season 9. My third favorite of Season 9 behind Thor vs. Vegeta. So, that episode, stomps are not all too bad. And a bad matchup does not really equal a bad episode. Again, Homelander versus Omni-Man. Homelander and Omni-Man both have better options, and that episode was so much fun. Seriously, if you have not watched Homelander vs. Omni-Man Death Battle, I guarantee you're gonna love it. Though, if you're on this channel, I 100% guarantee you've already seen it at least once, twice. I've seen it more than once on my occasion, and it's great every time. But Warden vs. Crawler, it's not bad that it's a stomp. If anything, that can make the fight a lot more intense. And both are really, really scary when used in right positions. As for who wins, yeah, the Crawler only has an agility and slight intelligence advantage. The Warden's got everything going for it. So, but yeah, I really like this. Animation style 3D, that's probably the best to go for it. Any Minecraft matchup should be 3D or SFM. Track name, Subterranean Hunters. There are better track names out there, but this is the best one I have, and that's the one I used for my track that I made for it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Number 7. Old Man Logan versus The Last Ronin. Marvel versus TMNT. In basic connections, two alternate versions of beloved mutant characters that both lost their families to an evil group and are now on the hunt for revenge against those who wronged them. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is genuinely interesting. I would be really, really happy if this one happens. Regardless of who wins, this would be one of the more tragic episodes of Death Battle. I rarely get the chance to talk about this one, primarily because a lot of it has been said already, and, well, I really, really think it could just be dark, tragic. This could legitimately do a Mercy ending right. Not what Jonathan Tanjiro did, but more on the line of Magneto Tetsuo. As for who wins, yeah, it's Logan. It's Logan. Sadly, it's Logan. I love the Last Ronin comic, and Last Ronin is one of the best pieces of TMNT media, and I want it to get an adaptation. The closest we have is, what was that episode? It was that one episode, Same as It Never Was, from TMNT 2003. That was one of my favorite episodes that I watched the show. I haven't seen the entirety of it, but from what I have seen, and that was one of it, I really loved it. But that's the closest we're gonna get to an adaptation of the Last Ronin comic, and I would love to see a movie or show adaptation of Last Ronin. If it's live action, sure. If it's animation, that'd be perfect. But I would be so down for this one. As for animation style, this is the only one that's could probably work as a sprite match. 3D could be fine, hand-drawn could be fine if they try. If they do their best to replicate the style of both, sprites is the most likely that they're going to go for. And I could legitimately see that. Track name, The Last Mutants. Basically, I don't really need to explain that. Anyway, moving on. I love this match. I want it to happen. This and my number 2 are my most wanted for the and Groove vs. Megamind are my most wanted for the second half of Season 9, are the ones that I'm begging to happen, either for Season 9 or Season 10. And of my top 10, this is probably the most likely. Number 6, Macaque vs. Rex Dangervest. In basic connections, antagonistic versions of cheery protagonists that both start out as good-hearted but reveal themselves as darker counterparts to said protagonists and eventually try to kill them but are stopped by the protagonist's mentor. There's more connections, this is the basics, but it's really just something awesome. I have a little bit of trouble talking about this one due to, again, the recent passing of Billy Cometz, Macaque's voice actor, who died June 2022. I believe it was either June 9th or 19th. I apologize if I get either of the dates wrong, but this match is just something amazing. Sure, Rex has better in Zurg thematically, but I really think this one could just be fun. It's probably not best for either. Like I said, Rex has Zurg from Lightyear, and Macaque probably has better in Moro and Madara. But I would be really happy to see this one. I would be so down to see this one. And this is a match that just brings me so much joy to talk about. Monkey Kid in general, or Lego in general, just brings me a lot of joy to talk about because of how much it means to me. I'll get to that when I get to the number 1, but this match is just a lot of fun. As for who wins, it does on paper seem like a stomp for Macaque, but Macaque is not utilizing Journey to the West, so it's a lot closer. This Macaque is very different from the one to Journey to the West. There are only 3 characters in Monkey Kid that could actually use Journey to the West, those being Wukong, Nesha, and the Demon Bull King. So this matchup makes it a lot closer. Both carry a ton of weapons and armies and mystical abilities. It's basically a fantasy sci-fi clash, with both carrying very similar personalities. But I would be really, really happy to see this. Macaque wins. Macaque still wins. Yes, Rex has a strength advantage due to Emmett's planet bust, but Macaque has a definite speed advantage. Again, Wukong scaling, since Wukong is using Journey to the West, and also a durability advantage. But overall, I would be really down to see this. Animation style, hand-drawn. That's the only animation style that works for Monkey Kid matchups. You could try 3D, but it would look really weird. Hand-drawn is the best choice. Track name, A Corrupted Shadow. It's difficult to explain this one. Shadow, Macaque, corrupted, alternate version of these characters, especially Emmett. Yeah, I want this one. I really like it. Number 5, Clover vs. Nemesis. Cloverfield vs. the Project Nemesis Saga. In basic connections, lesser-known monsters from America that in-universe were government cover-ups that later broke out and went on massive rampages. There are a lot more connections than listed here, but that's just the basics. This is one of the lesser-known kaiju matchups, and again, one of the more grounded, animalistic ones. As Nemesis does have a beam attack, but Clover doesn't really have anything. Doesn't really have any long-range attacks. Sure, he can punt stuff, but he doesn't really have anything going long-range, whereas Nemesis, she has a lot of things going for her. This might be a stomp, but I still really think it could work. And it just seems like it could be a lot of fun, and it's a chance to give 2 lesser-known kaiju a chance to shine. And apparently this does have a chance of happening, because apparently, from what I remember, Clover has a follow-up fourth movie that's going to be a direct sequel to the first movie, which that's one of my favorite kaiju movies of all time. And Nemesis is apparently getting a TV show adaptation of the first book, so that's pretty cool. Also, I just want to clear up a few things. One, for this match, I'm primarily going for the original Cloverfield movie, and the manga that ties into it. Yes, there is a tie-in manga, look it up. I would mention Lane and I would mention Paradox. I'm not using either of those, but I would bring those up. And for Nemesis, she does have visual media. There is a comic adaptation of the first book that is, fun fact about that, illustrated by Matt Frank, the guy who illustrated the IDW Godzilla comics. So that's pretty cool. I myself haven't read either the comics or books, but I do want to get around to reading those. And two, a lot of people know Nemesis more from Colossal Kaiju Combat. That's a common misconception that she originated there. No, she did not originate from Colossal Kaiju Combat. That was a tie-in with the original books. God, I wish that game actually came to fruition. I would have adored to play as both Red and Solomon from the NES creepypastas. Yeah, those were originally going to be playable. Seriously. Oh, damn, Colossal Kaiju Combat would have been awesome. Again, as for who wins, Nemesis. She has a beam attack, she takes a strength, durability advantage, she's an evolutionary kaiju similar to Shin Godzilla. Clover does have a bite advantage, he has a larger bite force, he also is faster and more agile and has a smaller design, which could come in handy, though Nemesis has battled kaiju who are smaller than her. But I really, really want this match. Animation style, either hand-drawn or 3D. You could pick which one. Both have models for 3D. If I remember correctly, I think Nemesis has a 3D model. I know Clover has at least 2. 3D could work. Sprites would be interesting. I would like to see custom-made Nemesis sprites. I am working on a test animation for that. But hand-drawn is probably my choice. That's my favorite animation style overall that Death Battle's used, primarily because of the aesthetic. If they try to go for a similar style to the Matt Frank comic version, then that'd be awesome. Also, if the Cloverfield movie and Project Nemesis show release around the same time, this could be a bonus episode. So, that'd be awesome. Track name, Project Cloverfield. I really don't think I need to explain why. Project Nemesis, Cloverfield, all of that. Yeah, it's good. It's a good match. I love it. I love it. Number 4. Piglin versus Tusken Raider. Minecraft versus Star Wars. In basic connections, two natives of hot hellscapes that on the surface both seem barbaric, but are actually much more intelligent and sophisticated than what they seem. I'm not taking credit for this one because this one actually wasn't created by me. This was created by my brother when he brought up how similar the two are in a casual conversation, and it just got better from there. But unlike Warden versus Crawler, this is actually a lot closer. In fact, it's one of those matchups where I really can't decide who wins. If I had to pick the Piglin, primarily due to better gear, but the Raider has better training and combat experience. But damn, this is really, really good. I would be happy to see this one. Piglins are my favorite Minecraft mob, and the Tusken Raider is just so much fun. If it wasn't for Book of Boba Fett or for The Mandalorian, this matchup wouldn't work. This matchup wouldn't work at all, but those two allowed this matchup to exist and work as well as it does. A lot of people say that Minecraft mobs wouldn't really be able to work on Death Battle, and to that I say, by that logic, Pokemon wouldn't work. By that logic, Death Battle wouldn't be using Pokemon, but they've had 7 episodes, 4 of which did not involve a trainer, a battle royale, or a legendary. And it's likely that they're going to be going for more Pokemon episodes in the future. that involve non-trainer, legendary, or battle royale matches. And by that logic, Minecraft mobs wouldn't work either. Yes, the Pokemon have the Pokedex and stuff like that, but that's inaccurate. That is very inaccurate. Remember, those are written by kids. The Pokedex in-universe are typed out by children. So it's pretty inaccurate at times. Sometimes very over-exaggerated. And Minecraft mobs, they have some pretty accurate sources. The mob bestiary, in-game testing, official quotes from the developers, official animations, all of that. That's pretty accurate. So they technically do have their own versions of the Pokedex. And also, I wrote a script for Warden vs. Crawler, as stated earlier, and the hardest part to do for that was the Crawler script, since I haven't seen the Descent films. There's 2 of them. I want to get around to watching the first one. But Piglin Raider, this one could actually work. Again, if I had to pick who wins, the Piglin. Again, better gear, though the Raider has more training. Animation style, 3D SFM. That is probably the best. If they could somehow replicate a combined style of the Star Wars Galaxy Adventures and the Minecraft official animations, that would be a lot of fun. This has the potential to be very comedic, so track name, Sands of Gold. Sands, S-A-N-D-S, not the Undertale character, but sand as in the earthly material, stuff you find on beaches. Basically, sand because, well, Tatooine, and then gold because piglins love gold. I really love this match. I really hope it happens. This is a lot of fun. And it's close. It's the second closest match of this list from my research. So, yeah. Number 3. The Overlord versus the Lady Bone Demon. Ninjago versus Monkey Kid. From one of the closest to one of the farthest stat gaps. In basic connections, powerful godlike entities from beloved LEGO series that both attempt to reshape the world in their own image, starting out via possession, then manipulation, then finally making a grand entrance, and straight up whooping the character's butt. So, yeah, from one of the closest matchups on this list to one of the largest stat gaps on this list. This is Galaxy level plus to Large Planet plus. But that's not going to stop it from being amazing. This match could legitimately offer so much. It's not one of those matchups like Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna, where there's too much potential, and regardless of what they do, you're just going to be left asking, that's it? No, this is one of the matchups where it has just enough animation potential and could allow for a very, very fun fight. It's just so much fun. Sure, it is a big stomp. Lady Bone Demon has next to nothing that's going to help her against the Overlord. Basically, the way Ninjago characters work, for me, in terms of stats, if the character was introduced before Season 8, then and scaled to the first Bintitsu Master, then they're uni-multi. Then they're uni-plus, multi-plus Galaxy at worst. If the character was introduced after Season 8, then they are Planet at worst, Galaxy at best, with potential arguments for Universal. And the Overlord was introduced prior to Season 8, so Galaxy at worst. Meanwhile, the Lady Bone Demon has nothing. Like, planet busting at best if we're taking those visions accurately. Yeah, how big is a planet compared to a galaxy? Barely visible, like it's next to nothing. But I would love to see this. Sure, the Overlord's multiple form changing would be a little difficult. This works best as a season finale. This and my number 2 are working best as a season finale. But I ducking love it. It's just so good. So good. Animation style, hand-drawn. Again, it's a Monkey Kid matchup, and this one would definitely lean more to the anime style of that show, same with Rex Macaque. In fact, I'd argue all Monkey Kid matchups should lean into that style, but hand-drawn definitely works best. 3D could be interesting as long as they try to replicate the Ninjago style, but hand-drawn is the best choice. Because, well, Monkey Kid matchups only work in that style. I would highly advise you check out at least a clip of Monkey Kid, and you will see exactly why. That show's style is super unique and probably only works best in hand-drawn. But, again, I love it. Track name, The Bones of a Gilded Darkness. I originally had the track name as Demonic Gold, and then I despised it. So, The Bones of a Gilded Darkness it is. Bones, because Bone Demon, gilded as in Golden Master, and then Darkness, because the Overlord represents the element of darkness and destruction. This is a really good match. I want it to happen in the future. Very unlikely, but please. Number 2. Destoroyah vs. Iris. Godzilla vs. Gamera. Oh boy. In basic connections, two powerful demonic-looking kaiju that both serve as the final boss of Godzilla and Gamera's Heisei eras, and both represent a karmic aspect of their past that comes back to haunt them, with both nearly killing them in the process. I rarely get the chance to talk about this one, but when I do, I talk about it with a passion. This is Nemesis Bloodreich's Most Wanted, and it's my second most wanted. Just, what the heck hasn't been said about this one that needs to be said? What the heck hasn't been said about Destroyer vs. Iris? This is best for both. I genuinely despise any and all of Destroyer's alts. Fin Fang Foom has King Ghidorah, Space Godzilla has Legion or Belial, Legion has Space Godzilla, Biollante, or Hedorah. Ghidorah has Fin Fang Foom or my preferred May or Deadsaurus. This is just fantastic. I love this one so much. This one also works best as a season finale in my opinion, primarily because of how visceral and bloody these two are. Sure, it's not really featured that much in the movies, but in the comics and other tie-in material that feature them, oh boy, they can be vicious, especially Destroyer. Yeah, what the hell hasn't been said about these two? Destroyer wins. I've heard arguments for it being close, I've heard arguments for it being a stomp, I'm leaning towards it being close. I recently rewatched both movies, I own both movies, and I love them both, but Destroyer probably takes the win. Animation style, 3D. Hand-drawn could be interesting. Sprites could be interesting. I'd be interested to see how they pull off a kaiju sprite battle. I know Nemesis did his not death battle for it. But 3D definitely works best. 3D or SFM. Track name, Vengeance Destoroid. Vengeance, because Revenge of Iris, and Destoroid, because Destoroyah, and Destroyed. But holy hell, what hasn't been said about this one? This is fantastic. Fin Fang Foom can suck it. So before I get to my number 1 most wanted, that one's probably very obvious. I want to mention 3 matchups that almost made the list. One of them was actually tied with number 8. And these 3 are ones that I've recently enjoyed and that I've recently fallen in love with. Honorable mention 1, Titan vs. Syndrome. Megamind vs. The Incredibles. This is a match that I just recently started to fall in love with. I really, really, really like it. It's just so much fun. Both characters are really good. I rewatched The Incredibles yesterday and I loved it. So I would be really down to see this one. I would be really happy if this happens. But first we should have Gru vs. Megamind. If we're getting Megamind as a series on, get Gru vs. Megamind out of the way first, and then do Titan vs. Syndrome. That makes it not happening anytime soon, but whatever. I love the match. I can wait. Titan vs. Homelander is basically fallen out of shape. Syndrome vs. MCU. Mysterio could work. Same with Syndrome vs. Deku, or Izuku Midoriya. But, Izuku, I prefer fight Miles, and MC Mysterio in general should fight Scarecrow. But, yeah. Honorable mention number 2, Infinity Ultron vs. Heaven Ascension Dio. Marvel's What If vs. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes Over Heaven. This was the one that was tied with Warden vs. Crawler in number 8, but recently it's fallen down to the honorable mentions, but it's still a matchup that I really, really like. I genuinely think this works best as a season finale for reasons that should be pretty obvious if you are familiar with both properties, if you played Eyes Over Heaven or if you've seen What If. Both are just really awesome characters, and I just love it. I really love it. Also, side note, apparently the winner changed recently. I'm not exactly sure when this happened, but apparently Dio wins now, which, not bad. I would have preferred Ultron win, because I like him more, but Dio's cool. This version of Dio's cool. I haven't finished JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I like Dio. Yeah. Honorable mention number 3, Gyaos vs. Skullcrawler. I prefer this over Dagara. I will explain why right now. Gyaos vs. Skullcrawler is, yes, less thematic than Dagara, but the reason is, when I think of Gyaos, I don't think of a man-made organism gone wrong. In fact, if I woke up with no knowledge of Gyaos, if I knew nothing about Gyaos, and I looked at him, and I was asked, what do you think this is? I would think, that is a murderous beast. That is going to kill someone. That is a ravenous monster. If I knew nothing about Gyaos and looked at him, I would think that is a ravenous monster, not a man-made organism. Whereas Dagara is a man-made organism. I would consider him a man-made organism, though you wouldn't really think that right off the bat. If you think a man-made organism, Hedorah, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Hedorah or Destoroyah. But Gyaos vs. Skullcrawler, this is my preferred. For my preferred for Dagara, I actually think Manda works best. Yes, it is technically a same series matchup, but it's a similar situation to Gorosaurus versus the Vistatosaurus Rex, where it is technically a same series matchup, but one character is more known for a different appearance. Gorosaurus is more known for his appearance in Destroy All Monsters, and Dagara is more known for his appearance in the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, which, to my knowledge, is separate canon from the anime trilogy and from the Heisei era from the Godzilla Heisei era. So, yeah. But Gyaos vs. Skullcrawler could legitimately be fun. It could be brutal, it could be powerful. Both are vicious monsters when sent unleashed, and there are 3 ways this could happen. 1, go with the base versions, so normal Gyaos versus normal Skullcrawler. Go with their alpha powerful versions, the Hyper Gyaos and Ramarak, or make it an army battle with the alpha powerful versions, Hyper Gyaos and Ramarak, leading an army of their base versions. That last one's the funnest option, but all 3 could be fun and brutal as hell. And there were 2 more that I forgot to list. Honorable mention number 4. This is my favorite Marvel vs. DC matchup. I'll keep it brief. Marvel Godzilla vs. Titano from DC Comics. Yes, the American Kaiju works better for Titano, but this is my favorite primarily because, well, Godzilla. And it's basically Godzilla vs. King Kong, but Marvel and DC. That's not a problem. There are a lot of things that are just the rivalries. But this is my favorite Marvel DC matchup. Yes, the American Kaiju works better. If you think Titano gets god-stomped, he probably does, but let me remind you, he battled Superman. That's a feat in and of himself. He held his own against Superman, and Godzilla held his own against Thor. Both nearly killed Thor and Superman, so, yeah. I think it could work. And then the other one, I'm also going to keep this one brief as well. It's a mythology match. Wendigo versus Werewolf. I'm keeping this one brief because mythology matchups, especially this one, which features a continuous religion, it's still hesitant. That's why I'm really hesitant with stuff like the Abrahamic religion mythology matchups, but this one is another one where I need to be hesitant. I need to be careful, but I like this one. I think it could be vicious. I think it could be brutal. I think it could be fun. But yeah, I like it. Those are my honorable mentions. For who wins, Titan vs. Syndrome, Titan wins. Dio apparently wins against Ultron. Gyaos stomps Skullcrawler, regardless of what we're using. Marvel Godzilla probably stomps Titano, and Wendigo beats Werewolf. Though it really depends on what we're using with that one. But these are my honorable mentions. I really like these. But that last one I need to be very careful with. Oh boy. And for my number one pick. Number one, Kyogre vs. Wojira. Pokemon vs. Ninjago. In-base connections, two ancient gods of the sea that were both sent into dormancy by an external force following a battle with an arch-rival, who would both later be revived decades later by characters who could rightfully be considered mad men, with them both going on rampages and later being killed by the same external force that sent them into dormancy. I have talked about this one at length for multiple times on Reddit, Discord, and YouTube, but I haven't brought it up recently because of some history. Because of some recent history in relation to it. As everyone knows, Kyogre vs. Chaos exists, and that one is a really good match, but recently, it started a few months ago, people have been trying to, I don't know if this is the correct term, but it feels like it, gaslight me into thinking that I prefer Kyogre vs. Chaos over Kyogre vs. Wojira. And that hurts. That really, really hurts. And they've been genuine about it. They've been really genuine about it. And that hurts me. When people do that, it's like saying, I hate to keep bringing him up, but it's like saying that Nemesis it's like trying to gaslight Nemesis Bloodreich into preferring Destroyer vs. Fin Fang Foom over Destroyer vs. Iris. Though Destroyer Foom is way worse than Kyogre vs. Chaos, Kyogre vs. Wojira, and Destroyer vs. Iris. But that hurts, and that type of thing has really tainted my enjoyment of both Kyogre vs. Wojira and Kyogre vs. Chaos. Because, well, those people, they're all over the place. They've been doing that to me for a few months now. It's died down, but it's really, really hurt. And that's painful because of what this matchup represents. It's not just my most wanted matchup because it's awesome. In fact, it very much is. Even if a Wojira analysis would be really, really hard to pull off compared to both Kyogre and Chaos. But it's because of the personal connections that these two carry to me. I talked about this at length in my Team C's video about why Kyogre vs. Wojira is my most wanted matchup. And that video is basically still accurate to my thoughts on the match, and as to the reasons why it's my most wanted. Both characters are just really cool and carry a representation of a feeling that I haven't had for ages for Wojira, and being an introduction to a verse that has introduced me to so many people and allowed me to get along well with my best friend. Both have a connection towards my favorite fictional character that again means so much to me. Both are gods of the ocean, which is something that I grew up loving and meaning very much. Both are kaiju, which is a very important aspect of my life, being the thing that made me what I am. Both come from verses that represent something that changed my life. Both eras mean so much to me. So this is not just another Kyogre match to me. This is the match that means way, way more than it does on the surface. This is a match that carries heavy sentiment to me as a person, that carries heavy attachment to who I am, and to what I am becoming, and to what I have become. And I will continue to adore this. I will continue to vie for this one being best for both. I will continue to shill it until every Versus show on the planet has given it a shot. Even if Kyogre wins. From my research, Wojira takes a win, but it is devilishly close. Both stats are opposite, but tied. And both carry enough to keep the other back, but not really one-shot them. This is closer than Piglin versus Tusken Raider in so many different ways. But if I had to give it the win, Wojira. Primarily because her primary attacks involve electricity, which Kyogre is weak to. If I had to give her a type, water electric, which Kyogre is weak to, electricity. So, yeah, this match is close. This match is really close. And I love it. I love it. Animation style, hand-drawn. Hand-drawn. 3D could be interesting, but hand-drawn. Both look stellar in hand-drawn animation. And that's really deserving of my most wanted. Sprites would be difficult to pull off. 3D would be interesting, though I'm not sure if Wojira has any models. And everything else would just not work. Hand-drawn would be stellar. Would probably be the best choice. Anime track name, Gods of the Sea. I don't need to explain anything. They're both ocean gods. They're both powerful monsters that control the weather and the ocean itself, raise the tides when they will, and manipulate the winds and lightning around them. This match, I've said so much about it, and I will say it. This is my most wanted. This is my most wanted for personal, sentimental reasons, and because of how much it carries in my heart. It's not the first that I created. It doesn't have the most animation potential. It doesn't carry the best contrast. Hell, it might not even have the best connections, but this is my most wanted for the personal, sentimental pieces that it holds. And I hate when people say, no. No, it doesn't carry sentimental reasons. No, it's not your most wanted. No. No, you dislike this one to hell and back. Because I love this one. I've said I love all 10 of these. In fact, I love all 15 of these, including my honorable mentions. But this is the one that I would pop off the most if it happens. This is the one that I want to happen the most. This is the one that I beg to happen the most. It's unlikely. Kyogre vs. Gyaos is way too popular, and Wojira is way lesser known and way too recent. But this match just... It's just beautiful. It's just something that I can't let go of. The love that the love and the sentiment that this match carries, I can't let go. I can't let go of. Sure, it wasn't the first, and it won't be the last, but it's my most wanted from now until the end of time. And I will not stop until every versus match on the every versus show on the planet has done it at least once. Thank you for watching, guys. So that was my top 10 most wanted matchups, plus some honorable mentions. Yeah, that last one got really sentimental for me, and I hope your most wanted is just as sentimental to you as Kyogre vs. Wojira is to me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around to the end if you have. Please let me know what your most wanted are in the comments, and why. Why are they your most wanted? And do they mean anything to you? Do they have any personal connections towards you? Do they have anything that carries a sentiment? If so, what sentiment does it carry? Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Peace.